She said, and this is the part that bothers me, because I don't know if she intentionally did this in a malicious way, which will make me lose a tremendous amount of respect for her, or are these hood knuckle-dragging thugs who are siphoning money out the black community, leveraging young brothers' deaths, convinced her to say this in order to push a narrative.
See, I knew that the mother didn't just get the phone and went through it and realized stuff when was out of place. I knew it was more to it.
Nolan's mom is lying, Warren's lying, or Katie's lying.
The forensic autopsy came back, and lo and behold, even though they're trying to downplay it, and I understand Ben Crump and NAACP and others don't want to try and jump to conclusion or step too far out.
Not Nolan Wells' mother, Christine Wonsley, getting dragged through the mud by Judge Mathis for sitting on TV and lying about almost everything. The crazy thing is, Judge Mathis is one of the few public figures who have been standing 10 toes down behind her to advocate heavily for Nolan to get justice, something that he claims he'll continue to do. However, he still didn't hold back from giving Christine a piece of his mind. He said he still believes Nolan was unalived, but apparently, Christine has allegedly been fabricating stories and changing some details of what happened and how it happened so she can get the police to make an arrest. Word on the street is, Christine believes Nolan's death will go unpunished, and she doesn't plan to watch that happen, even if that means planting evidence that wasn't there and changing accounts of how things actually happened. Okay, so the inconsistencies in Christine's story pretty much started right from the beginning of this case, when she went on Good Morning America and gave details about what she found on Nolan's Snapchat when she recovered his phone. She claimed that Nolan loved taking videos and documenting everything, so she was very sure she was going to end up seeing some footage from the 4th of July, the day he mysteriously disappeared. However, when she finally recovered his phone from his friend, Nolan's Snapchat had been wiped clean, and there were no text messages between him and any of his friends from that day. And you guessed it, those were also supposedly deleted too. Basically, what Christine was insinuating was that someone got into Nolan's phone and deleted all these things that she claims were previously there because there was some kind of incriminating evidence. And that's where things got messy, because Warren Hudson, one of the guys actually on the boat with Nolan, came out and denied all of it. He said he never touched the phone, didn't even know the password, and had no reason to be in it in the first place. Another friend backed him up too, saying nobody had access to that phone from the time it left the boat until it was moved into the truck. So right out the gate, there is a whole lot of he said, she said going on. Christine is saying stuff was deleted, the friends saying that was impossible because none of them could even get in. And a lot of people were on the side of the friends. Because think about it, how many people casually gave their passwords away to their friends? Even if they do, it's for an emergency, and they change it right after. Talk less of a whole friend group knowing the password. That's just not making sense to a lot of people. But that wasn't the only thing Christine said that wasn't quite making sense to people. During the same Good Morning America interview, Christine spoke about exactly how she tracked Nolan's phone, and what she said gave people more questions than answers. She said the location data from Snapchat and the location data from Life 360 didn't match up. She didn't give an exact number of miles or blocks in that interview. She just described the two location sources as inconsistent with each other.
The boys were pulling up the location from Snapchat. So the Snapchat location looks completely different than the Life 360 location. So when I pulled up Life 360, it was different. It was showing everywhere the phone had been, like it had, I was like, well, it's showing that he's back on land, like I'm not. He was like, but no, he didn't come back with us.
But Nancy Grace jumped in, and she wasn't buying it. And you know it's serious when Nancy Grace steps in and publicly calls out someone for supposedly lying. Nancy said she could believe it being off by a few blocks, but not the kind of gap Christine was describing was simply not adding up.
I do know that there is a conflict in the stories, and we are not stopping until we know what happened to Nolan Wells.
But as I said, this wasn't the only part of the story that wasn't making sense. You see, from day one, Christine said she couldn't understand why Nolan would decide to stay behind with a girl he just met by himself, basically implying that the story that his friends, including the girl he met and decided to stay for, Katie, said about him staying back for her was a lie. Christine said they raised Nolan to always stay with the group and never split off on his own. But Ashley Cole, a judge whose stepson Warren was on that boat, put out her own Facebook statement, saying the boat left around 4:30 because it was taking on water. Warren later got more specific and said it was actually the bilge pump acting up, and that Nolan chose not to leave and stay on the island with Katie while they dealt with it. Christine wants us to believe her solely based on the fact that she raised her son to stay with the group, even though his friends who were there with him that day and the girl he met are both confirming that he did in fact choose to stay behind.
She said, and this is the part that bothers me, because I don't know if she intentionally did this in a malicious way, which will make me lose a tremendous amount of respect for her, or are these hood knuckle-dragging thugs who are siphoning money out the black community, leveraging young brothers' deaths, convinced her to say this in order to push a narrative. Let me show you why I say this. And I'm not saying which one is right, but this is why our question is. Roll the clip.
We've heard different accounts of how long he's known them, and I was wondering also if you folks have spoken to those families since they lawyered up.
High school friends.
That's when we got down.
Yeah.
Say the second part again.
Have I talked to the families? No.
I haven't spoken.
Last question. They haven't spoken to the families.
That's it.
So she gets on there and she says they haven't spoken to the family or did anything like that, alluding to the fact that as if the family haven't tried to communicate with her since you lawyered up, meaning that they lawyered up and they haven't heard any contact from the family. Well, here is Ashley Cole, the stepmama who's a judge is what they say, and she's a family law judge. She's not even a criminal judge. So, they want to make her out to be like she's going to interfere with the case. She don't have no leverage to interfere with the case, to be quite honest. But anyway, this is her, and we got this leaked to us. And so we have this information available. As you can see it, this has been verified. I saw it with my own eyes. And this is a message from Ashley Cole to Nolan's mother. And it says, Christine, this is Ashley Cole. If or when you ever want to talk to me, this is my number. This was on July the 7th.
Correct.
Now, the question is, if you want to know what happened to your son and you think that his friends are responsible, had any involvement, it would be conducive for you to say, let me talk to their mama and see what they're talking about. Because she is offering to communicate, even though they have lawyers. Yes. And the thing is, the boys didn't lawyer up immediately. Warren had a lawyer before anybody else, but the rest of the boys did an interview, equivalent of a polygraph test, all with no lawyers. So they act like they all lawyered up. That's not what happened. And then, even if they lawyered up, the mom said, come talk to me.
Yes.
And what did she do? She don't say anything. And then she had to make a correction.
Yes.
A few days later, roll it.
But the parents, again, they've offered, and I need to correct myself because I think yesterday in one of the interviews, I think I said that maybe none of them, I want to say 2 or 3 of them have reached out. Just the first one expressing their condolences, another one just saying, hey, give me a call if and when you're ready, type of deal.
And on top of all that, a former FBI agent named Jennifer Coffindaffer went on record saying that when she looked at the surveillance footage, the witness statements, Coast Guard communications, and the riptide conditions out there, everything publicly available pointed toward a tragic accident rather than foul play. And then there is also the fact that Christine came up sounding like a liar once again when Nolan's body was found. You see, Christine said the day after Nolan went missing, Nolan's dad, Elmore Wonsley, went out on a boat himself to search near Horn Island, actively out on the water looking for his son, but they didn't find him. However, the very next day, Nolan was found. Now, unless Christine is saying the police planted the body there was no way Elmore searched all night and didn't find Nolan. Someone is clearly lying here, and I'll leave it to y'all to decide who you think it is.
After watching the press conference that Nolan Wells' parents did alongside Ben Crump and Reverend Al Sharpton, there are even more important key details that have come out that we need to be talking about. Let's start with the fact that the parents went to the exact location where the body was found the day before the body was found, and there was no body there. Yes, you heard me correctly. So Nolan Wells' father says in the press conference that he didn't have access to a boat to go and look for his son that night. So early that morning, 5 o'clock in the morning the next day, one of his coaches called Nolan Wells' father and said that he would take them out on a boat. They went out to the island looking for Nolan. They looked all over the island and could not find him. Now, it's also important to note that there were people that had stayed overnight on the island. So if Nolan was actually stuck on the island, there were people there that he could have asked for help. There were also 2 boats that were docked. So at the very least, he would have had shelter until he was able to find help. Now, they went out to Horn Island on the 5th looking for him. On the 6th, they got a call saying that his body washed up to the shore and they found it, but his parents had just been there the day before.
So what exactly did Judge Mathis have to say about all this? Well, as I said, he was initially on the side of Nolan's family when all this started. But word on the streets is he is now singing a different tune after he got a rundown of all the consistencies in the things Christine has said. He is still advocating for Nolan like he's always done, but he is definitely side-eyeing Christine a lot more now. Judge Mathis has said flatly that he thinks Nolan was unalived, not that he drowned. He pointed specifically to the independent forensic autopsy results that Christine had conducted because she believed the Mississippi law enforcement was tampering with evidence. He said the autopsy showed discoloration on the back of the head that he characterizes as bruising, appearing as though someone had pressed a hand against the back of Nolan's head. And just like how he calmed out the inconsistencies in Christine's story, he also called out the inconsistencies in the accounts given by Nolan's friends, saying there are a lot of moving parts and that something happened, given the marks on Nolan's neck. Judge Mathis also pointed to unanswered questions about why Nolan's friends left him alone on Horn Island without his phone. Judge Mathis might tell a joke, but he never tells a lie. And if the allegations that Christine is out here making up lies to force the police into making an arrest are true, she might want to come clean before it's too late, because once everyone catches on, it's only going to make it harder for Nolan to actually get justice. In fact, as we speak, people are already turning on her, with some people calling her and her husband out for apparently being more interested in appearing in interviews instead of getting their son justice. One person said, "All these interviews and not one tear." Another person said, "They're actually participating in a Q&A? That's really bizarre, especially since there's an ongoing investigation." But now I want to know your thoughts. What do you think of Christine being accused of lying? And do you think Nolan will even get justice by the end of all this? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to click here to watch this other messy video.